Hey, everybody. This is Isaiah Colton with another Sales and Marketing Secrets podcast. And I'm excited to have the man in all things luxury listings, Mr. Michael Lafido, here to join us today. Hey, Michael. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So it's
I'm wearing
funny,
my
Michael.
location shirt, by the way. You like that?
I love it. I love it. That's what it's all about. I'm sure you could do a whole training just on that topic. So but anyway, so for those of you that maybe you've downloaded this podcast for the first time, or you're tuning in, and you're kind of starting to make a consistent pattern here, I just want to start off by giving you an overview of what this podcast is all about. What we do is at the center of this podcast, we have what we call the Sales Acceleration Blueprint, and we're a firm believer that if you're going to be successful in business and really do great things in business, there's certain pillars of your business that you have to focus on and master over time. And the better that you get it, the better you get these things, the more breakthroughs that you're going to have within these specific areas, ultimately helping you scale and build faster. And the focus of those pillars break down for us. We talk about, first and foremost, at the center of everything has to be your database. It's relationships, right? And managing your database to build relationships is huge. And then we roll around into lead generation, lead follow-up, social media and video marketing, lead conversion, client experience. And then for those of you that are looking to build a team, making sure you have good systems in place to attract agents and ultimately build a really successful team to leverage your time. And today we're going to be highlighting lead generation, but we're going to be doing it in a little bit of a different way, because what type of niches that we go after and how we approach the market ultimately affects our bottom line, right? And it ultimately affects our business plan as a whole. And so a lot of us have a decision to say, okay, what niches do we really want to dominate, right? And how do we want to position ourselves in the marketplace? And so one of the things I love about, Michael, what you train about focusing on obviously becoming a dominant listing agent, but doing it in a way that can help you level up your average price, right? And I think it's a really important conversation. So I'd like to just, before we dive into my first question, I just want the viewers to know a little bit about how you got into luxury listings and why you decided to really make that your focus.
Yeah. So thanks again for the opportunity, Isaiah. Love what you're doing for the industry. You and I known each other for a long time, and we launched, I'm the author of the book, Luxury Listing Specialist, and we launched our designation 6 years ago. It's called Lux for short. 6 years ago.
6 years already. I remember when you first launched it. That's
yeah,
so
we
awesome.
launched it in Dallas in March of 2016, and so part of why, before I even launched the designation, right, I myself, as a licensed agent here in Illinois, I decided I'm going to focus working on the upper price points with buyers and sellers. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist, Isaiah, in a commission-based industry to figure out why, right? I wanted to work smarter, not harder. And so that's really, for me, I've had mentors and coaches that have talked about, marketing to the affluent, going after those upper price point clientele, and in a commission based, whether you sell nuts and bolts, and if there's a certain nut and bolt that makes you more money, why don't you try to sell more of those, right? And so in this case, it's real estate. And so I do teach agents to diversify their portfolio, right? So most agents, I believe that there's 4 primary price points in most markets, right? You got starter or entry level in most markets, you got average in every market, whatever the average price is. And I defined a high-end home, Isaiah, as a home that is 2 times the average sale price for that market. So if you're in Rochester, New York, and the average sale price is 400, 800-ish would be a high-end home. And we define luxury, or a luxury home, as a home that is 3 times the average sale price. So we try to teach agents to diversify the homes that they represent, but luxury was something that I flipped the switch and said, I'm going to focus on it, because at the time I was probably selling homes in the mid 2s, and I saw these other agents selling homes in the 6s, 800s, and millions, and I'm like, I know I can market better than these agents, so why don't I dip my toe in this a little bit? And then I dove right in after seeing that I too could do it.
Okay, cool. And so walk us a little bit through your growth here, because I think this is important, because you look at Michael Lafido today, who's traveling all over the world, or country, whatever. You have some of the you're associated with some of the biggest names in in the industry, coaching at an extremely high level, still doing business at extremely high level, right? So I think somebody sees that and they're like, I could never be like Michael, right? I could never, like, so maybe walk us a little bit through your growth path.
Yeah. So
I think that's important for people to hear. So
yeah, so first off, I didn't come from wealth. I don't have a mom and dad that own a real estate brokerage. I come from blue collar, non-entrepreneurial type family. Um, and I won't bore you with all the details, but I started selling real estate as a part-time gig because I was a full-time teacher, and I slowly realized that I could do this, and I had a mentor that I really liked and respected, and they were successful. But I'm like, you know what? I saw their qualities, and I'm like, I feel like I can do what they're doing, if not better, right? So you got to start. It starts here. You got to believe in yourself, Isaiah, and that's the key. Whether it be luxury real estate, whether it be mortgage, whether it be a builder, you have to believe in yourself, and that takes time, right? I tell agents, grow your knowledge, and your confidence will grow. So going through Isaiah's program, listening to a podcast that Isaiah and his team are putting out helps you with the knowledge, which will help your confidence. When you're more confident, you're more likely to step out of your comfort zone. Maybe do some lead generation, maybe do some prospecting in that area code, that zip code, in that part of the town that you've never sold, and in that price point that you've never sold. And so that's really key, is growing your knowledge, whether it be podcast, what do you read, who's your coach, who you mentor with. Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. And so I was a student of the game, and so I was confident that I could do it. My confidence level was there, but like you mentioned earlier, I was missing that blueprint, right? And so what was that blueprint? So again, I took the concepts that eventually got me to be a successful agent: hard work, lead gen, prospecting, not being shy, right? Shy real estate agents, Isaiah, have skinny kids. You can't be shy in this industry. You gotta let people know what you do, right? And so that's kind of, I think, the blueprint, if you will, or the foundation to being successful today in 2022 and beyond is building a brand, being very knowledgeable and confident, and then putting content out there. So that your database, your sphere, or maybe you do lead gen and it's canceled, expired, forced out by owners, but if they go to Google you, there's a digital footprint online that they realize, what, this Isaiah, his company is legitimate, or Michael Lafido, this agent seems legit, right? They're going to Google you, they're going to look you up, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so
do you remember the first property that really gave you the confidence to say, you know what, I'm going all the way with this? Was there a one property that you, or a story that maybe
I wouldn't say there was one
was that?
property that gave me the confidence, like one sale, but I do say, I do know for a fact there was one property where I'm like, I'm going to roll out the red carpet with videos, and this is going to be my opportunity to leverage this opportunity, this listing, to hopefully attract others. And it was actually 8 years ago now. We listed it in August of 2014, but the guy interviewed me, Isaiah, in June. It was, excuse me, in January of 2014. It was like literally January. It was like January 2nd or 3rd. We just had like -8 degrees, wind chill was -40, and it was the first business day back after the new year. And he wanted me to meet and come down to his office at 8 o'clock, I want to say. No, it was earlier. I want to say it was 7 or 7:30 in the city, and I live 25 miles west of the city. I'm familiar with the city. I've sold in the city, but the thought of driving down there the first day after the new year, the business day, when it was maybe a high of 5 degrees, wind chill below zero, but I was hungry. And this guy owned a $4.9 million house that was expired or canceled, and he wanted to meet with me. So I drove down there. I felt terrible. I was late, but guess what? He was late. I got there like 7:15. I think the meeting was at 7. I think it was that early. And 7:30 rolls around. He's still not there. Now his kind of janitor, manager, jack of all trades guy, real nice guy was there. He's calling him. I don't know. I'll check with Jim. I'll call Jim. I can't get a hold of him. 8:30, 9 shows around. This guy still isn't there. And guess what? My butt ain't moving. This is my trophy listing opportunity. I'll stay till 3 o'clock if I have to. This guy ends up showing up about 10:30, 11. Wasn't real apologetic for me waiting, right? He was kind of arrogant and used to people jumping through hoops for him. And I leveraged one of my terms that I teach other agents, and it's not naughty by nature, OPP. I leveraged other people's properties. In this case, Isaiah, I went in there with my video book, and I'll show you the video book. And I literally showed a video. I went in there with my video book. We give these out at my live designation trainings. Walked in there and I showed a video, something similar to this. And it wasn't even my video. It was another property. But I said, hey, Isaiah, his name was Jim, if you hire me, my creative juices are going, Jim. I'm going to create a video for your home like this. And he was blown away. I borrowed somebody else's because I didn't say it was mine, but I just said, I'm going to do this for you. And guess what?
This is what it would look like, right? Yeah.
And he hired me and we rolled it out. We brought in a car transport. I spent $950 on a horse for the video. And Crane Chicago Business, which many people calls like the Wall Street Journal for the affluent reader in Chicagoland. I cold called the guy, the real estate guy. And if we were to role play right now and ring.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, hey, and this guy's name was Dennis, so I'll call you Dennis. Hey, Dennis, my name is Mike Lafido. You don't know who I am, but I have an amazing luxury home in Barrington Hills coming on the market, and I'm putting together a $10,000 video shoot. We're bringing actors, horses, Lamborghinis, and I didn't know if you'd be interested in running a story, but I thought I'd give you a call first. And he said, oh, wait, who are you and where are you with and what's the address? And do you think the owner would be willing to be quoted? He says, hold on, let me call you back. He calls me back in 5 minutes, goes, hey, we're running with it. It's going to be the lead story tomorrow. And this was like a cold call. But I teach agents, you got to have a silver platter. What's in it for that Crane Chicago Business guy? Human beings are lazy by nature. So in my mind, I already kind of role played the conversation. So when he called, I was ready. So I had long answer. That was my trophy listing. And guess what, Isaiah? It didn't sell. It might not have sold since then. The guy had an IRS tax lien on him, went through several agents, but I would do it again. That leveraging other people's property on the video opened the door for me. I rolled out the carpet, and that listing has attracted me so many more opportunities.
Well, you know what? There. I think within that story is one of our first lessons in lead generation. It's actually a strategy to gain exposure to generate more business too, right? Because you're using that story, and when you market your listings the right way and get exposure, like you said, you got more listings or more business from it, right? You could because the exposure of it, and I think let's talk about that because. One of my experiences, and I know you live in the luxury world is probably different, but one of my experiences, a lot of agents struggle justifying spending money on marketing their listings. What's your just straight up, what's your philosophy on that? Like, what would you recommend the agent do to as far as like not spending, like what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah. So before I share with you my philosophy, we're talking about leads here, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I like, if I were to replace the word leads, I would replace it with opportunity, because that's all our business is more opportunities, more conversations at the having a beer at the bar, somebody at your kids' ball games, opportunities. Those are all opportunities, but they start with conversations, right? But opportunities, you want more opportunities, more at bats, right? More at bats, use a baseball analogy, more at bats you get, more likely you get a hit, a double, single, triple, homer. But getting back to your original question, I think it's important, and my mentor once taught this to me, but you got to know what a sale is worth to you and what will you cheerfully invest to get a new client. So let's keep it really simple. If somebody sells a $400,000 home and the commission is 2.5%, 400, that's $10,000. Well, maybe your broker, you're on a 90-10 split. So a sale for you is worth $9,000. And let's just say in that example, your average sale price over the last year, Isaiah, was 400,000, and your average commission is 9,000 in this example. So then an average sale is $9,000. And what will you cheerfully do to get a new $9,000 client? I showed you this silver platter earlier. I mean, I would send silver platters. I would send bank bags. I would send shredded money to canceled and expireds. And I would spend $5-6 on a mailer and do it multiple times when my competition, did nothing, but those that did, they might call, they might use a call service, right? That calls on canceled expireds, or they might do a mailer, but they probably don't do a second. And if they, maybe not a third, well, I would do 3 to 5 to 7. And I would send lumpy mail, and I would invest a lot more in my mailers than them, and I got the people to call me back. So, but I wouldn't invest, call it $10 per lead, which I knew, let's face it, out of 100 leads, maybe I get 7 callbacks. Okay,
Right.
So at $10 a lead times 100, do the math, $1,000 to get 7 leads. But if I can get, or even if I'm terrible at conversion, and I converted 2 out of those leads and only 1 sold, that's $9,000 for $1,000 investment. That's a 9-to-1 ROI. That's not bad.
Yeah, and that's just the first thing that we talk about actually in our lead generation when we're looking at our approaches, or we're looking at ways to generate opportunities, and we're looking at our budget, what we're willing to pay. I think that we really need to have a conversation with ourselves and really understand what this should and need to look like, because we have I have conversations all the time around lead generation, and we're talking about, well, that seems like a lot of money. Well, compared to doing what are the alternatives, right? And like, what do you, because at some point, if you're gonna look at the ways you're going to generate opportunities, there's always going to be a cost to that. But for example, I'm going a little bit off track here, but if let's say I was going to invest in Google pay-per-click, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know pretty much what that's going to cost me, and how many leads I can break down over the course of the year.
Yeah.
And then if you talk about conversion, you just kind of draw out the worst case scenario in conversion. And in most cases on most lead generation types, if you're willing to follow up and you're willing to see it out, you can have an unbelievable ROI. Even at a 98-99% fallout rate, you can still have a really good ROI. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it's not exactly what you're talking about, but one of the things that
this is what you're exactly, different scenarios. I invest in video, right? So there's a couple companies I do a lot of content video out there, right? And I'm call it $1,700 a month. Well, $1,700 a month times 12 months, that, call it 19 grand, call it 20 grand. $20,000. If you're on an 80-20 split and you're watching this, and you can do $1 more million in volume at 2.5%, if that's what the payout is in your market, that's 20 grand. So the way I look at it is I'm producing 15 content videos a month or more, 15 times 12, 180 a year. If I can't sell another $1 million in real estate because of all this content, that's my worst case scenario break even. That's how I like worst case scenario.
Yes.
And then I do medium case, if I can do 2 to 3 million extra, and I do best case scenario. If I get a couple $1 million listings from it, a couple that have to buy 2, and that's, I got a billboard. I just invested in a billboard. Same thing. I'm not looking for a huge jump, but it gets top of mind awareness.
Yes.
I want to be the mayor of my town, right? In other words, I want, when somebody's thinking about buying or selling in Rochester, you want to be top of mind awareness, where you might not be the guy, but you're in the conversation, and that's all you could want, is a seat at the table.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful when it comes to lead generation. Is I think it starts with a belief system, and that's why I go back to a belief system, because around this conversation of lead generation, we're faced with limiting beliefs. Are we going to, what is the ROI? How long should I give it? What if I don't get a return right away? What if I market this listing and nothing comes back off of this one, right? Like, And I'm sure you'd agree with this, but I think a lot of decision making in lead generation is made the wrong way. We're making it based off of like what the scenario is right now in front of us, instead of like, okay, if I stick with this, if I do this strategy, if I market every listing the same way every time, right? Or, you know, whatever it may be, playing out the numbers over the long term, looking at the branding effect and understanding everyone's got budgets, but just, I feel like the limiting belief here is making decisions short term when it comes to lead generation and not long term. Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
yeah. I mean, you got to be smart, right? You know,
Yep,
you do want to look at things skeptical, like, do
yep,
I need this? Or like, I got hit up with a company just the last couple of days about something. I asked tough questions. I got one lady, you know,
yes.
text me and said, "Hey, would you like more listings, you and your team?" I said, "Yeah." So I texted back and forth, and then at the end of the day, I said, uh, "I'd like to schedule a call with you, but before I do, send me your website, send me some case studies and some testimonials, and then once I review those, we'll set up a call." She said, "Oh, you're not our ideal client." I'm like, "Well, you're not obviously confident in your product. If
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
goodbye." You know,
Yeah, I see ya. Yes. Yeah. Be smart for sure. Be smart for sure. I think that um let's talk about, let's
we're
stay on this
talking
budget
leads here. I mean, do you
Yeah.
think your audience would want some? I specialize in those upper price points. You think it would be valuable?
Yes,
Like,
that's exactly where I
anything?
was going.
All right, so
Yeah.
guys, if there's, you know, I mentioned it earlier, OPP, and so I'm going to teach that concept, other people's properties. And so if you are an agent, newer veteran, but you don't sell high-end luxury, how can you break into luxury? Well, you want to definitely work on that knowledge and that confidence. And so podcasts, reading books, all that. You want to work on that foundation, okay? And then comes the blueprint. Okay, but you can't have the blueprint unless you have the belief that you can, right? So you got to really believe that you can. And some of the most limiting beliefs that I hear agents tell me over time is, I got to be licensed X amount of years. I got to be with a certain brand. Certain brands aren't known for luxury. I can't sell luxury if I'm with them. False. I got to drive a certain car or live in a certain community, or there's already X amount of luxury agents in my market. There's certainly not room for an eighth, a ninth, a 76, a 1 million, whatever the number is. It doesn't matter. Those are all excuses if you say that to yourself. So you got to check those at the door.
You could
You
have
got
made
to,
those same excuses for yourself when you got started, because you were just telling your backstory. You didn't have any of that, right? You had no,
I had none of it.
yeah,
I had none
none
of
of
it.
it. It's a great
So what I
example right
did,
there. Great fronting, folks.
I hung my license with a company that specialized in luxury in Hinsdale, Illinois, and um, so let's give you some tips on what you can do. So you got to grow your knowledge. Number one, that's key. You got to, but don't feel like you got to grow your knowledge and know all the materials, or, hey, is that wolf, or is that Sub-Zero, or is that hand scrape walnut floor, or is that cherry? Yes, that helps, but don't overthink it, because that's a big thing. People are like, well, I don't know all these things. If I go in the house and Isaiah starts drilling me and saying, hey, what's this? What's this? The sellers rarely do that, right? So
Right.
go
Learn
out,
as you go.
learn as you go. So number one is go to other people's broker open houses. Now, I just held a broker open this week at a $1.7 million listing of mine. I don't like hosting broker opens. Typically, the only reason I do it is to generate traffic, to fill out the survey so I can go back to the seller and be like, hey, had 8 people, 7 said we're overpriced, right?
Right.
But
Right.
but with that being said, go to your MLS as a real estate agent or call your board and say, how do I find where the broker opens are, the caravan, the tours during the week? Not the general open houses for the public on the weekends, but we're talking
Yeah.
the week. So you go to those open houses. My 63rd podcast, I had a guy, he's a Compass agent out of Miami, Amit Bhutta. His Twitter handle is the Indian Realtor. Amit, for example, talked about he went on weekly broker opens, and most human beings, by the way, our cell phone, we're like a dating app. People are swiping left and right on your properties. But if I were to go on Facebook, Isaiah, right now, and if I was on Facebook, and I'm on Facebook, what happens? If people might be doing it now, they're not paying attention to you or me, and they're scrolling. And if I come across a video, let me come across a video. What happens? Most people, when they're scrolling and what happens, I haven't found a video yet. There's no videos here, but on TikTok, whatever, most people,
Yeah,
I'll go
Yeah.
to TikTok, but most people are Instagram. If you're
yeah,
going,
they're
most
gonna come
people, they're
across.
on, it's on mute, right? It's on mute.
Yep.
So this is a video that popped up, right? It's an ad, but it's on mute. So what happens is people are going, they're scrolling, all of a sudden, man, I see Isaiah at a cool property and you're on mute and you might be saying, this is not my listing. It's not my listing. It's Jenny's listing. It's Jenny's listing, but they see it at the property. The next week they see it another cool property. Oh man. And all of a sudden they start to associate you with those upper price points and you're growing your knowledge because you're going through these homes, you're kicking the tires. It's like Gene Hackman, I believe it was, on
Yeah.
Hoosiers. And he measured the hoop and it's 10 feet. Well, guess what? You realize this is a roof over the head. It's a house is a house. Sure, there's more intricacies, but you start to grow your confidence. And if you get those listing agents permission ahead of time, you might be able to take some photos and shoot some video and tag them and credit them. But like I said, because of mute and people don't read and they're lazy by nature, they just see you at the home. So that's number one, other people's properties. Number two is other people's open houses. Now, in some states, you can work another person's open house, even if you're not in that brokerage. You're going to have to check with your broker. Every state's different. In Illinois, I can't do an open house unless that agent, the listing agent, is at that same company. It doesn't have to be the same office, but the same brokerage. So check. But again, why do you do that? Well, because buyers come in and many of those buyers are unrepresented. I had a guy intern for me last summer, Dugan. Dugan just got his license a few months ago in Tennessee. He'd never lived in Tennessee. His girlfriend took a job as a nurse down there. So he didn't know anybody. Started from scratch, new licensed agent. He just did a $4.2 million open house. He had 20 people through, 20 people. Now, even if you say 5 are qualified at 2 million and above, and out of those 5, 3 aren't represented. If Dugan did a good job with those 3, even if he landed one at $2 million, that would be a $50,000 weekend. Okay, so other people's open houses, that's number 2. And then the third is leverage other people's successes. So Isaiah, you're with Remax, I'm with Remax, not really, and I'm not really, but let's just say in this scenario, you're a Remax agent, I'm a Remax agent, you have a record sale in Rochester, and I'm friends with you. I might post, hey, a fellow colleague in New York just had a record sale. Don't forget, I'm only licensed in Illinois, but I have key contacts in all 50 states and other countries. So if you're thinking about buying, or you know of somebody that is thinking of buying or selling in another state, and they don't have an agent, reach out to me. Chances are I can connect you with a rock star agent. The power of the referral, the power of growing your network, the power of positioning yourself as an international or a global agent is important.
Yeah, that's really great. And I could see it in my head as you were describing it. And it's, I'm about immediate action implementation. So I'm going to go back to our real estate team. I'm gonna look like literally we're gonna set some time to start implementing these strategies right away, because I can see it because the average person, like to your point, when they're scrolling, even though you're giving credit to the other person, they don't really understand the intricacies about whose listing it is and who's not. Like they're not really even paying attention to that as much. But like the branding is so powerful. I could see the branding being so powerful. So I'm going to get with our team, and my goal is within a month or two, I'm going to start tagging you, thanking you for the advice as you're seeing our real estate brokerage feed be full of these high-end properties. So that's such a great idea. I love it.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. So folks, I think Michael could probably go on and on and on and on.
We have a lot of free content out there. They can Google me. Obviously you try to keep your podcast at a certain time. So the big
that was my next question before we wrap up. I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people. This is getting emailed out to 2 million people. So there's going to be a whole bunch of people that want to check you out. Who, how do they check you out?
If they go to luxurylistingspecialist.com, that's my training, my designation site. But on there, there's tons of free resources. There's a drop down, our blogs on there, our blog where we put free content out there, Isaiah. Every couple weeks we do great content that's on there. My podcast, same thing. We just released our 200th podcast this week,
That's-
Isaiah.
Yeah, I tuned in for a little bit actually to the replay of it. You guys do a really great job on your podcast. Really
Thank
great
you.
job.
Well, the 200 sounds a lot better than the first or second or the third. Matter of fact, I had Gary Gold on a podcast, and he talked about how he sold the Playboy Mansion, and I had kidney stones. I wasn't even on that. So I've hosted 199 on my 200. I had an emergency there, but no, and honestly, so we're putting free content, and then every Friday we do a free live stream. If they go to luxuryfridays.com, that
Awesome.
top link will take you to my YouTube channel, or you go to YouTube and just go to Marketing Luxury Group. And if they hit subscribe, they'll be notified whenever we do our free live streams. But
That's
tons
great.
of free content out there, Isaiah. And again, Michael Lafido is my name. And if there's anything we can do to help anybody, we're brand agnostic. We help you whether you're with XYZ, EXP, Coldwell Bankers, Compass, Sotheby's, Boutique. Doesn't matter. We helped them all. I had a gal reached out to me this week, Lucinda. Lucinda came through my class in January of 2020, just before the world changed. I had the head of Remax's luxury division at that training, and Lucinda didn't qualify for Remax's luxury designation at the time. She took mine. She said it was life transforming. Out of the blue, she called me and thanked me. So that's why I do what I do, to try to raise the bar for the industry. And I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, I love it. And so if you're one of my clients, Michael has agreed to do a monthly private mastermind call with my VIP clients. So if you're interested in becoming a part of my VIP group, what you can do is just comment below this or wherever you're watching, or you can go to Ren Support at realestatenexus.com, and you can go ahead and apply for that, and you gain access to amazing people like Michael and some really other awesome people we have as part of that VIP group. If you're not a current, go ahead.
No, yeah, that you guys got some great, people on there. Keep it up. I mean, it's great content.
Great, yeah, and also if you're listening to this and you really need help getting your database organized, you're in a position where you're looking to go to the next level, and you're trying to get your database organized, you're trying to get your lead generation, lead follow-up, your lead conversion all working together. Just go to renfreetrial.com, and you can actually try our software for free for 14 days. You can check that out. As always, we appreciate you guys listening to this podcast, and we also appreciate if you found value in it, share it with the world. And Michael, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm looking forward to having you on again soon.
Hey, you're welcome. Keep it up.
All right, thanks.